Y'all, what is this? I ordered this for the video. I thought it would be a cute little hint of the book. It was advertised as a wine glass type of chalice. Wine glass for who? A toddler? Babies can't drink alcohol, right? No, that's illegal. Not that you clicked on this video to talk about tiny tazas, but whatever. Here's the book that we're talking about today, and oh my god, this was really something else. This book, nay, this series is so damn good. I have hardly slept since picking up the first one. Not kidding. Which you're looking at right now. Oath-Taker. So I'm just going to start out with a brief rundown of A Court of Thorns and Roses, because that's what it's very similar to, and we're just going to talk about the first book. Do a quick overview, and then we'll get into the plot of Oath-Taker and how it's, at times, a lot of times, egregiously similar. And how it's different, because it is. And we'll do it spoiler-free, of course. Hopefully. Spoiler-free. It'll be spoiler. Don't worry. It'll be spoiler-free. Okay. ACOTAR by Sarah J. Maas is the first book in a series about a moral girl and a whole lot of fairies. At the start of the story, our main character, Feyre, is 17? She's a 17-year-old girl who lives in a small village within the mortal realm, and her family dynamic is kind of, fucked, so she has to hunt to feed her starving family. One day, she kills a wolf that is actually a fairy. She didn't know it was a fairy. Kind of. And is dragged away to fairyland as a sort of jail sentence, except instead of being stuck in a jail cell, she has to live in a hot fairy's mansion. A tragedy, truly. Anyways, long story short, Feyre ends up trying to break a curse by completing 3 trials or solving a riddle. And I said no spoilers, so I won't say it. But if you've read the book, the answer to the riddle is so Disney. I'm talking full blown. Now, Oath-Taker, the real star of the show, the real gem, is actually not about fairies.
What?
The other main species in this series, other than humans, are the descendants of gods. They're called the Noctis and the Soulless. There are plenty of other mythical beings encountered in the realm, but the Soulless and Noctis are the main ones, and are written pretty similarly to Fae because they have all kinds of powers and immortality and shit. Same idea, you know? So anyways, Haven, the main character, is the prince's royal companion guard, a position that she trained for many years to earn. So she's like his personal medieval bodyguard, right? But he's taken on his rune day because he tests positive for possessing magic, which is forbidden to mortals, and given to the Dark Queen who cursed the realm. So Haven sets out against impossible odds to save him because the prince is the only family she has, and she swore an oath to protect him. At first I didn't like this book because of the glaring similarities, but now it is, in my mind, dare I say it, far better. I mean no disrespect, Miss Maas. The truth is the truth, I cannot hide from it. As with any fantasy novel worth its salt, there is a map for each book. And no, I'm not the only one who sees it. I know I'm not. Yeah, the maps are almost the same, but the way they're utilized, very different. In ACOTAR, it's just general, oh, we're going north to this kingdom, oh, we're going south to this kingdom. The physical movements of characters is basically just linear, which makes the map pretty useless. And then the descriptions of the physical places that the characters go to, it's just so lacking. If the characters go to the Autumn Court, and all you have to say about it is that the leaves look like this, I'm just not gonna be transported there with the characters, you know? As much as I like the series, and I do like the plot, I didn't feel immersed in the story. I have this thing that I call the moment of silence. If I've read a book or a series that was all-consuming, and afterwards I'm still emotionally, and in some ways mentally, in that book, I need a moment of silence afterwards. I just can't read another book, unless it's within that series. And if it's not, then I need time to process and to not feel heartbroken or like I'm betraying the characters by reading another series, right? Super ridiculous. I know. I never required a moment of silence for the ACOTAR series. You see what I'm saying? As much as I liked the plot, I was not in the world with those characters. Not as much. Whereas with Oath-Taker, I was in that shit. I'm still in that shit. I just finished the 4th book in the series a few days ago, and goddamn. So here's how the world building is different. OT's map may appear the same at first glance, but if you look at the locations for the kingdoms, the division of land seems so much more organic. which means the map is actually useful when reading the book to determine where the characters are, beyond a general north, south, or middle of the map type thing. And then, when the characters actually visit these places, I could sit here and describe to you what the various kingdoms look like, from the biome, to the climate, to the material that the royal castles are primarily made out of. I'm not shitting you. Audrey Grey's world-building abilities absolutely go crazy, go stupid.
Go crazy! Go stupid! Ah!
Okay, here are some other glaring similarities, but I want to preface this by saying that after the first book, the plots are extremely different. And even though there are similarities in the first books, TAKER knows how to stand on its own. Like, it is its own thing, don't get me wrong, okay? So here's what we're rocking with. In both books, the antagonist is a female who cursed the realm and lives in a mountain. Both offer a highly dangerous opportunity to break their curse for some reason. Literally don't know why they would do that. The opening scenes for both novels are in a forest with a teenage girl who has a bow and arrow. Haven and Feyre are also both written as total badasses, which that's kind of just like the nature of YA, new adult fantasy in general. But stick with me here. They're cunning, strong, beautiful, and get this, they're both artists. Here's the deal, and this is probably gonna be a hot take if you're a Feyre stan, but there is not really a justified reason for her to be so strategic, cunning, or skilled as a fighter. I know. Look, in the series she learns how to fight, but for only 3 months. That just doesn't make sense. Book 1, she's a starving, illiterate teenager from a poor village in the mortal realm. And where is she by the end of the series? Make it make sense. Haven, on the other hand, is a bona fide badass. Once you get to learn her life story, you begin to understand how and why she became who she is at page 1. That, coupled with the lessons she learns throughout the series, it justifies the woman that her character develops into. Not to mention, Haven, over the years, has had a bit of time to practice her sketching. A little bit of free time, a little bit of money, and get a little good at it. When does Feyre? And with what money? There's a running joke, actually, in the ACOTAR fandom that Feyre is really bad at painting, but no one has the heart to tell her, so she just keeps doing it like, you like it? I made it for you. While we're on the topic, let's talk about how one-dimensional these antagonists are in both books. So, in A Court of Thorns and Roses, the villain is just a bad guy, an evil force seemingly incapable of redemption or a dynamic personality. As the series goes on, other enemies are made, and it's the same idea. The bad guys are rotten from the inside out. The rare instance of bad guys becoming good happened very, very quickly, and then they were made into the good guys who were just mainly good. Unbeknownst to everyone in the realm, they were the good guys all along. They were never actually bad. They're described in the books as heroes. Simply put, that just seems lazy to me, because every character in the series does not so good things. They are not the hero in everyone's story, but that is clearly not the perspective of the narrator. And while the same shortcoming is seen in TAKER, okay, I'll give you that, it's not a theme that continues the rest of the series. As the books go on, all characters become more dynamic, with layers to their personality.
Yeah, I got layers to me.
And it is openly recognized that the supposed heroes are not necessarily good. If they're a villain, let them be it. But make us love them anyways. That's what's really compelling about a story, and that is what you see in TAKER. The Kingdom of Ruin series. In TAKER specifically, the villain is one-dimensional as fuck, but look, no matter who's writing it, it appears lazy every time. When you have a villain who you can sympathize with and begin to justify their actions along with them, okay, that's when it gets really interesting. Eventually, the Kingdom of Ruins gets there, but ACOTAR never does. Here are some shared tropes you'll find in both books. And of course, there is romance in both, of course. But, and you know what's coming by now, here's how TAKER does it better. This is by far the most slow burn romance that I've ever read in my entire life, and that's saying something. You see, in the Kingdom of Ruin series, romance is not as big of a factor because Haven has priorities, okay? Also, the spicy scenes are spicier and therefore better. Finally, little bow on top, both are technically high fantasy, but TAKER is written in a much more modern and casual tone, not really to its credit. Even though the dialogue between the characters fits the time period, it took me a bit to get used to the, medieval era, but narrated in a 21st century tone, if that makes sense. More so than in ACOTAR, because I feel like it happens there just not as bad. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Maybe it's neither. Perhaps it just is. I don't know. Let me know what you decide, what you think. Because you're gonna read it now, right? Oath taker? Well, if you do, let me know.